Mr. Rothschild, how you doing, sir? Can you tell us what went on at the Bilderberg meeting this year?
Sorry?
Could you tell us what went on at the Bilderberg meeting this year?
I didn't get that, actually, no.
The Bilderberg? You weren't there?
No.
Not this year. What went on last year?
No, I wasn't there last year. I think that was my cousin.
Your cousin was there?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Do you have a couple minutes for us, Mr. Rothschild? We have a few additional questions. I was asking a question inside of, as I was saying, that the Federal Reserve is one of these organizations. It's one of these organizations that a lot of people say is the source of inhumane thought all across the world because it's a private bank that was started by your family.
No, it's completely untrue. I was asked that earlier. It really isn't true.
Jekyll Island? Jekyll Island, 1913, sir? No.
This is MongolianMindset, and today we'll be typing Jacob Rothschild for one of our members. They recommended him. We'll be using Linda Barrens Interaction style combined with cognitive functions. We have the Mega Live this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. All you have to do, I'll be dropping links on the YouTube, Discord, and the Facebook group for Friday. I'll keep people aware. But all you do is you get on there and you talk about things that you're looking to accomplish next month, how you want to attack 2024. I know people say crazy shit like we have a cult. I don't call it a cult. I call it a herd of people that want to be the best versions of themselves. People are always going to hate on you. But that's our overall goal, is to make everyone accountable and to watch people like transcend the person they were last year. Okay, that's our overall goal as a group. We want to put people in the positions of power, and we want to keep growing ourselves because it helps us grow when you guys grow. We are still doing the free typing sessions. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, join our Facebook group or Discord, and message our moderator Cody, and he'll get back to you with an availability for that. I do think we are one of the best online at this. We really take our time. We make you guys a priority. We sit there and usually take about at least close to 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how easy it is to find your type, but at least like 30 minutes. Okay, so we're doing that, and it's completely free, so get that while it lasts. And let's see what the monkeys over at Personality Database has Rothschild as. They have Jacob Rothschild as a ESTJ. Okay, so we're gonna look at the chart. We don't think highly of those guys over there. We believe they're monkeys. We believe they're well shit, whatever you want to call it. So ESTJs are direct, they're concrete, they're systematic, they're outcome focused, they're affiliative, they're TEFI, and they're SINE. If he meets those measures, we'll call him an ESTJ. And comment below what you think his type is. People do say that they believe this man runs the world behind the scenes. In that little interaction, what he was doing right there, when he was confronted, I'd say he came off very responding.
To do is to thank Bloomberg Green and Mike Bloomberg in particular. And we're very proud indeed that we should be part of this series. Now look, let me say something about our family. The founder of our family, Rothschild, lived in Frankfurt.
Okay, so he's giving a lot of extra information right here. No one asked him about his damn family, but whatever.
One story, large room house.
I'm sorry, but if I saw this guy in my church, I'd be kind of scared to shake his hand. Not even gonna lie.
With 17 other people. And I'll just read you something which Goethe said about the ghetto in Frankfurt at that time. The confinement, the dirt, the swarm of people, the accents of an unpleasant tongue, all made a disagreeable impression, even when one only looked in when passing outside the gate. It's a long time before I ventured in alone, and I didn't return easily after once escaping the obtrusiveness of so many people untiringly intent on haggling, either demanding or offering. So let's look at the history of our family for a bit since those days in the ghetto. I mean, they spent, I think, the first part of the 19th century making lots of money. I think they spent a lot of the second half of the 9th century spending it. They built altogether 44 houses. They collected like mad. They bought lots of land. And then came the 20th century with 2 world wars, high taxation. And of those 44 houses, only one really remains with its collections intact, visited by 450,000 people a year. And around the actual manor house, there are
Seems like he's just listing outcomes here.
5,500 acres of land, which we look after. So there couldn't be a bigger difference between how things were in the ghetto and how things were by the end of the 19th century and how you can start seeing the problems of the 20th century. Now today, we're blessed, we have this incredible property. We have a collection of 25,000 works of art. We have 400, as I was saying earlier, we have 450,000 visitors. A characteristic, I think, of English heritage property.
Talking about the numbers there, 450,000 visitors. We're going to hit them with TE there.
Is that they tend to look backwards. And our ambition here is much more to look forwards. Or to
talking about looking forward. Okay, that's abstract. Future focus. He's doing all this to look forward.
Or to accompany the past at least. And we care passionately about climate change.
We care passionately about fucking climate change. That's affiliative.
Characteristic, I think, of English heritage properties is that they tend to look backwards.
See?
And our ambition here is much more to look forwards.
He's talking about looking at the future.
Or to accompany the past at least. And we care passionately about climate change.
We care passionately about climate change, affiliative. Okay, he's affiliated to the goddamn climate change. Whenever you see these climate change people, I don't know what it is, but it just gives me fucking INFP vibes.
And how does that reflect itself? Well, we built this building 12 years ago.
How it affects itself, that's the consequences, that's NE. So you're hearing for SENI there.
And we convene here and talk about these issues. So
we convene here and talk about the issues, affiliative, cooperation. If you want another word, I guess they had to move away. Linda Barrens had to move away from the David Keirsey language, which was cooperation and utilitarian. He's talking about cooperation here, and that's affiliative.
We did one with the
interdependence.
In Oxford. We've done others, and about 10 years ago now, we did a thing with Oxford University with Bill Clinton and David Attenborough.
Okay, he's name dropping people. That's TE name drops, okay?
Climate change. But the problem, I'm afraid, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and harder to deal with. I mean, if you take, it reminds me a little bit of the problems of Corona, because if you take China, I mean, a few years ago, they were 3% of carbon emissions. Today, they're
TE stats.
27%, and we all mind. But then you say to yourself, well, at the same time, they took 2 billion people out of poverty. So how much
You talking about the outcome, 2 billion people out of poverty? This man's fucking INFP.
Sacrifice on climate change in order to bring people out of poverty? It's a big question. But what one is absolutely sure of is that there's an immense amount to do, and we're trying to do our bit here. And you might, Hannah, like to talk a bit about
immense amount to do, and we're trying to do our bit here, affiliative. Cody, is this going to be the 70-year-old version of Cody?
Of
course. It's so interesting hearing about the historical context of the family, because of course our interest in climate change goes back many hundreds of years. If you think about your grandfather, Charles, my great-grandfather, who after all was one of the first conservationists in the world, actually. Do you remember his story and how he started? Because it's rather amazing.
Charles. Well, yes. I mean, Charles he was the father figure of Nature Conservancy, and in 1914 there was a famous meeting at the Natural History Museum when he put his hat into the ring, bought a large nature reserve, and from then on there were 284 more. So he was a crucial figure, and on our side of the family that's been consistent because the elder brother, Walter, who was a very eccentric man, Walter Rothschild, who built the museum at Tring, he devoted his life to wildlife, to put it simply, and animals. So there was that strong tradition which was carried on by my Aunt Miriam, who
Strong
also
tradition.
devoted
You can hit them for affiliative or SI. It doesn't matter to
her
me.
life to wildlife and nature. My father was a scientist, so you see increasing concerns in the century,
Concerns, NE.
and perhaps it was expensive banking, but equally now, of
What the
course,
fuck is this man talking about? He's informative.
one of the things, in addition to those that I very briefly described, we do think a lot about is how can we invest our resources to good effect to help with climate change. And
How can we invest to get the outcome that we want? Outcome in climate change. He's affiliative, so let's go and hit him for informative and affiliative. So he is informative. So with that being said, ESTJ is eliminated. This guy's informative. Like, he's not directing anything here. He's just informative is all hell. Informative. And he is, what else should I say? Affiliative. So he's about cooperation, he's about climate change, he's about that. So with that being said, informative, affiliative, that makes you either SFJ or NFP. Okay, and we're getting it for TFI, we're getting it for outcome, and we're getting it for SINE, and he's forward thinking. This man is an INFP, but let's finish the interview.
I think there are any number of ways. I mean, you can support venture capital and people who are taking worthwhile initiatives. Our dream is, if you look across this building to the building on the other side, that one day that will become a center.
One day that this will become a center that's abstract, that's future focused.
Of, say, agricultural technology, ag tech, and of venture capital, which will help with climate change.
Talking about helping with climate change again. He wants that outcome. He's stuck on that damn outcome. And obviously he's affiliative.
Place
Do the right thing, care about climate change, people.
For those activities. And let me be frank, we've come to that conclusion, helped just by the evidence that's been mounting over the last decades, but also, frankly, I think because of the Bloomberg Green Initiative, it's made us try harder.
So I think picking up from something that you've said, I think we feel as a family that we're custodians of the land. We don't own it. We're not here to maximise our returns. What
This woman's affiliative too. Are they just breeding affiliatives in their family? I don't know.
we feel is that we've got to leave it in a better shape for the next generation. And once
Affiliative, or maybe he's brainwashed her too. I don't know.
upon a time, I think there was a kind of pressure, that people who were seen as climate change activists or people who wanted to farm in that way had to wear sackcloths and eat lentils and, trips around in the moonlight. But actually, what we've discovered here through our farming practices on the 5,000 acres around where we're sitting is that you can do an enormous amount to regenerate the soil, actually in-house. So, for example,
Outcome, look at him. He's taking a responding role.
we harvest our rainwater. We make sure that the 750,000 meters of hedgerow
Outcome from this woman, affiliative outcome.
are properly planted to help insects and wildlife. We have photovoltaic cells, to gather sunlight. And we make this wonderful microbiome mixture that we put back into the soil.
There's another point too, which is even the builder
That woman there may be an ESTJ.
was in the 1880s. I didn't know this until the other day, but he created 40 woods. And I think it's fair to say that in our generation, we've also created about
Yes.
40 woods.
I mean, you've planted at least 40
And that-
woods,
yeah, and
which
it-
has
as we
been
all know,
incredibly exciting. Yeah.
It's crucial to carbon
Yeah.
emission.
And what we do with those woods
Crucial
is
to
marvelous. So
carbon
we take-
emission. I mean, come on, this guy, man. Stop playing. This guy is affiliative and outcome focused. Like, bro, it's all about that outcome. He is going to get rid of carbon emission by himself. Okay, with affiliative outcome, that means you're either ISFJ or INFP. My best friend's an INFP. I guarantee she would listen to this guy and be like, he's amazing. He's amazing. He's changing the world, which is what she wants to do.
the dead wood out of the woods that both, our forebears planted and that you're planting, and we make charcoal, and that charcoal goes back into this wonderful mulch that we then put back into the land.
Right.
And in many ways, we're actually farming the land going back, many, many hundreds of years, long before we existed, using crop rotation, using animals, putting things back into the soil. And I think both you and I share this belief that, in a way, instant gratification is the worst thing that you can do. So in other words, if you want to have a really fast turnover of crops, you can drown the soil with chemicals. Or you say, actually, what we're interested in is the quality of what we grow.
Yeah.
And we don't drown the chemical. We don't
Outcome.
drown it in chemicals. So I think that you can do a hell of a lot by not necessarily causing a revolution.
I quite agree. I mean, I think the sort of fight against fertilizers, we can demonstrate to children in this area that it really has an impact and means something.
Yeah, I mean, none of us would want to kind of get our breakfast cereal and pour a whole lot of chemicals on it and then go yummy. And we wouldn't want to do that with our land either. And look, we're very lucky, I think. We have this land. We have the opportunity to make a
Got him taking out a responding role.
difference. And we're doing it.
Very
But we're
background.
not kind of doing it in Marie Antoinette, Petit Trianon way. We're actually producing crops each year and we're producing livestock. But we're doing it in a sustainable, regenerative way.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, if it makes a profit, you give it. And we also, if it does make a profit, it does sometimes, we give it back, frankly.
And I love the fact that you are so forward-thinking, in business. So I love the
Obviously,
fact
he's forward thinking. ISFJ is already dead.
that we're thinking about
INFP.
creating an agri-tech centre over there, that we're actually using, for example, the latest technology, say with drones. So we're using drones to fly over the land to see where one might need a chemical, but it's only used in a tiny, tiny, tiny amount because drone technology can help us.
I mean, I think the phenomenal change that's come about in the last 2-3 years is there probably isn't a child over the age of 6 that isn't deeply concerned about climate change. I mean, there were
Deeply concerned about climate change. Any
reports in the past, but now the focus of the world are on those problems, whether it's droughts, whether it's storms, whether it's the seaside being ruined, just undermining life.
Everything. And in a way, Corona has slightly, I'm afraid, eclipsed the importance of this conversation. No one's saying Corona isn't incredibly devastating, but actually we do need to think long term about the planet.
Yeah, and it's a distraction, well, more than a distraction, it's a tragedy, but it does have that knock-on effect.
I mean, I would hope that the vision that we are coming up with here, which is that we've got land which we can look after very well and set an example, not in a proselytizing way, but I hope in attraction rather than promotion. We've got these extraordinary buildings, one of which we're sitting in now, and one, as you pointed out, where we can convene the latest and the greatest thinkers, thanks to people like Bloomberg Green and other, organisations, so that we can bring, and we've got the history, so we can bring those three strands together, I think, and try and make a difference.
Come on. just got done.
It's incredible what Bloomberg Green has done and what Mark Bloomberg has done in this area. It really, I think, is as important as the government and intra-government initiatives like the Stern Report 20 years ago, like Kyoto, like Paris. I mean, you now have almost every single human being in the world deeply concerned about climate change.
He gonna beat that. He gonna beat that concern for climate change dead.
Bloomberg Green has really put the focus on the problem in the most remarkable way. It's made a huge contribution.
So, of course, next year we're planning to have Bloomberg Green, here in person rather than virtually. It's lovely having everyone here virtually, but what we really want to do is to welcome everyone here, show them what we're up to, and use our power to convene and cajole and entertain, I think, to give everyone a really interesting time and to produce some tangible results.
That's right. We're hoping that there'll be about 500 people who will be all interested in this subject and who contribute to it, and it's a great opportunity for us.
No, it's really exciting. I think it'll be fantastic.
All right, we're done here. Jacob Rothschild is an INFP. What do we notice? That he's informative. He almost put me to sleep. He did an awesome job of doing that. He's outcome focused. He's all about climate change, everything to get that going. He's all about that. This guy is forward thinking. She talked about it. He talked about it. He's forward thinking, which means he's abstract. He's future focused. He's affiliative. He's all about cooperation, doing the right thing for climate change. He's SINE. So with that being said, Jacob Rothschild is an INFP. Okay, INFP, and INFPs generally are 9. But I think this guy is most likely 1 W9. Okay, I'm gonna go 1 W9. He could be 9 W1, but he's in that one. I feel like he's more in that little climate change craziness. I mean, it is what it is. I believe, like, no matter what you do, if you push humans to the brink of extinction, they'll figure out a way. Just how it is. And not to mention, the population around the world is dropping drastically. So that's gonna be interesting over time. But we'll see how that affects the future. So INFPs are responding. They're abstract. They're people focused. Okay, they know the interest of things. They want to make that win-win. They're informative, beating around the bush, passive aggressive. Not really liking to tell people exactly what to do. Not demanding like that. They're feeling all about cooperation. Outcome focused. He's looking at the end product. He's SINE. He talks about concern a lot. His NE parent is coming out a lot. His TEFI users. Okay. So we got Rothschild as an INFP. Comment below what you thought his type was. Cody, is that going to be you in the future, man? Is that going to be you running our empire? Making sure you do climate change?